Welcome to the Eccentric Lady Society.
Yay!
I know you, but can you introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, my name's Iz Durose and I'm the owner of Potbound. We are a creative community art studio and I'm also an LGBT researcher and just general creative.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. It's very cool. You'll literally make your living off being creative, which is a really big feat. So many people, like, it's hard. It's rough out here.
It's rough out here, girl. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I think it's a real privilege to be able to do that and also to like help so many people in the process. That's something that's really is the most special to me, actually.
Yeah. Well, okay, so because I know you personally and like I'm mates with you outside the podcast and whatnot, I haven't prepared questions.
Love that. We're just gonna go for it.
I'm just gonna go off the vibes. So I'm thinking we structure it like past, present, future.
Great.
So I think we go right back to the past, and we start off with like the first times you like being creative. Like, tell me about that when it was like pre Potbound, pre-all-this.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I mean, it's a really funny thing because my mum is really into art. So yeah, like some of my earliest and like best memories with my mum is going to art galleries. She was really, she used to like love to take me around art galleries and kind of be like, what paintings do you like? Why do you like them? Like, these are the ones that I like. And like some of my like best memories with her is like going to the Tate Modern and kind of laughing because we didn't really get it.
Yeah.
Which is really funny because there's quite a few pieces that I really have this memory of us like laughing about it and being like, that's so stupid, it's not even art. And now I'm actually really into it. So now I can be like, well, actually, this is why it's a really good piece of art. And it's quite a full circle moment. But even when I was at school, like teachers would be like, so your mum must be really creative then because you are. And my mum works in finance. So that's quite a funny thing because I'm like, no, not really. But she's really passionate about the arts, and all of my family are really passionate about music. That's really kind of more where a lot of our focus was growing up, like is kind of music and bands. And like my first gig I was like 3, so like I've been always kind of in that creative scene. And like artists are just cool, aren't they? Like I just grew up being like, wow, that's so cool. Like just living that life and kind of using something that you feel really passionate about to help people is something that became really apparent to me. It's like being a creative person, that's kind of how you do stuff that's that cool lifestyle, and you meet people who kind of, have that sort of energy about them.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's kind of where it all came from. I mean, I have so many great pictures of like tiny me just rocking it out, or like I would love to be like, oh, I've always been a painter, but I really haven't. And that kind of, I think, shows now in my creative career is that it is so widespread, is because it's just, I always say, if it's creative, then I'm here for it.
Yeah, and you have so much joy for it. And I feel like, like you're very big on the community and helping other people find their joy through art. And it shows because you have an appreciation of such a wide range of different types of art, and you can show people how to do different, like you've got lampshades. We can't really see it on there. Can I show them?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So have you been, are these just as you found them, or have they started being altered yet?
So yeah, they were a donation from one of our long-standing like supporters, who was like, I got halfway through them and didn't really want to do it anymore. Thought that you could do it, and I was like, great, I love this. So
to be fair, if people come for workshops, there's
they're here.
Lampshade, aren't there?
Absolutely, yeah, and that's the thing about the studio, I think, which is something that those of us who kind of work here quite often say, is that like in the best way, we really have modeled it after a classic art classroom. There's always a different project somewhere. Someone's always got something half finished on a shelf. There's always something that people walk in and go, this is random, where's this come from?
What is happening? What is going on?
But I love that because I think there's so much. I've never been someone who wants to really like hone in. I mean, maybe it's the ADHD. That I'm like, oh, this thing's cool. But yeah, I think that it's like, it's exploring all of those different avenues and seeing how all of those different things can like culminate and come together.
And I feel like you have a real joy for it, and that sort of spreads out as well.
Yeah,
you know.
definitely.
There's
I
a lot
mean,
of
that's why I
solo.
really appreciate your work too, is because
Oh,
I love how it's like the music and then also like the art that comes into it and all of these things like amalgamate into the project. And I love it when that happens.
yeah, it's just fun. It's
Yeah,
just fun. It's just as
it's
fun
just
as
a
the other.
laugh.
It's just laugh. It's just laugh. It's just living. But so you said that you didn't paint when you were a kid. Then
Mhm.
when did you actually get into painting?
Yeah, well, so I always say, like, I don't necessarily think that I'm a great artist,
Mhm.
which is maybe controversial to say.
Well, I got a flower pot, which is like this is the first time I like crossed paths with you. Was like I was going through a time and I went out and I think it was International Women's Day. I was at bootleg and I was not in a great place. And I bought a plant pot from you that really helped me. And it was Vincent van Gogh, which I love Vincent van Gogh. I've got a Vincent van Gogh umbrella, Vincent van Gogh wallet, Vincent van Gogh bag, Vincent van like everything I have is Vincent van Gogh. But like it was a starry night, and I think it had like a really lovely quote on it. And I've ruined the podcast by not remembering what it is.
Yeah, I think
can't
I
remember
remember.
what
I
it
think I
was.
remember what it was. It was, I think, maybe something about like finding color in life, or
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
one of his quotes about that. I think.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was. I can't remember what it was, but it was really, really lovely. And that art on that was really lovely. It's one of my favorite plant pots. Still is. It's like the
Oh.
nicest plant pot I've got in my garden. But that was like the first time I ever like. I know you've been about a lot, and it's funny. I feel like sometimes in life, people are almost like sort of fits into like if you talk about romance, it'd be the red string theory. But I suppose there'd be like a friendship version. I don't know what that would be, but like people reveal themselves in your life when you need them and
Mm.
when you're ready to become friends. And that was like the first time you'd like sort of popped up to me, which is so weird because I was like, everyone I knew who you were,
Yeah.
except for me. I was like, what?
Like, where have you been?
Yeah.
So cute.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the funny thing about it is that like it and really like what happened with the business and like my career after. I always say like the universe gifted it to me,
Yeah.
which is why I feel so grateful that like 5 years later we're still
Yeah.
here. Because yeah, like I didn't think I was a good drawer. I mean, I wasn't when I first started. I really wasn't. And yeah, I just it all happened exactly the way that it was meant to. And I think that is why I kind of know it's my calling, is because as much as I work very hard, there's also a lot of stuff that like the best things that have happened to me have kind of, yeah, it's felt like the universe has been like, here's the next thing that needs to
Yeah.
happen, like this
Yeah.
is the thing that you meant to do.
Do you ever feel like you've gotten to places where you're like, I don't know where to go next. I don't know what's going on. Is this the end of the road? And then all of a sudden things pop into your life.
100 million
Because
percent.
I've experienced that.
100%, like definitely. And like the people kind of see me behind closed doors and see the like the side of me that worries about that. Definitely. Like, I mean, when I first started the studio, that was like just a shop at the time, just selling my stuff, I was like, if I make it to a year, that's good. Like, if I make it to a year, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Because I started the business instead of going to university, and it was my mum who was like, just try and be an artist for a year, like whatever that looks like. Just give it a go. Like while COVID was happening, just try and like
That was
we'll just
brave.
see.
That was brave.
Brave or stupid?
It worked out.
It worked out. It worked
brave.
out. Yeah, I mean, I signed the lease on the shop with quite literally £0 in the bank account, and
Wow.
I just didn't even think about it. I just knew. I was like, this is what I'm meant to do, and so I was like, if I make it to a year, great. And then we made it to a year, and I was like, oh, we're still like, there's still money in the bank to pay the rent. Great. Like, I guess we'll just carry on. And like every single summer, actually, I did it this summer. I do it every summer. I'm like, maybe this is it. Maybe this is the last year. Like, maybe we've like hit that place where people don't care anymore, or we can't give any more than we give. And it's always then where something happens where it's like, oh, okay, this is the direction now. Yeah. So even with, a lot of people kind of know me for the work that I do, like for the LGBT community, and it really was not in the business plan. Like it isn't even a business decision. It just came from kids coming in, like during, on a Saturday, I'd hear them coming down the street, like, we're going to the gay shop, because I'd put a tiny little rainbow in the window, and that was it.
Yeah.
And like the kids would come and they'd just sit on the floor, and it was, at first it was nice, and then I was like, why is this the space that they're choosing? And that space just wasn't there for them. They didn't have somewhere where they could speak to someone who was a bit older and like who'd kind of come out and had like lived that life and you know, dealt with those things. And so they would just come in here to find that safe space. So I was like, we need to do something about that. Like, we need to give them something.
Yeah.
And then it's just, this is why I say, like, that was and it was around the time where I was like, I don't know, like, I'm kind of over doing retail. I don't know if this is for me.
Yeah.
And then it was like the universe was like, this is where we need to go.
Yeah.
And then since then, obviously, all the stuff that I've done has happened, and that's what's made me be like, okay, this is the purpose of it, is to like make people feel really welcome. And so, yeah, I mean, that's why when people are like, oh, everything you do is so random, I'm like, yeah, because something comes up and I'm like, oh, this is the thing of the moment that now the universe wants us to focus on.
But by doing that, though, I think that's how you should live. Like, oftentimes you'll make a plan and then it'll just go skew, but it works out.
Yeah.
I think John Lennon actually has a quote where he said, like, life's what's happening whilst you're making other plans.
100%.
Like...
Absolutely. Like, I mean, you know, I think that, and that's so true. And it's also, I was raised by parents who, their number one thing is always like, do what makes you happy. And so my mum was like, you know, go and work in Tesco if it makes you happy, go and run a 6-figure business if it makes you happy, go and like study for the rest of your life if it makes you happy, but don't do anything that makes you miserable. And so, yeah, when things come up, even if it's kind of like, oh, it feels random and like it feels whatever, she's like, if it feels right, it feels right. Like, you have to listen to that. So there's definitely, I mean, another John Lennon quote of like, you know, I was asked what I wanted to be when I grew up and I just said happy. And so that is really how I live my life, which is why sometimes it's like, I'm going to France and everyone's like, why? And I'm like, don't know. It just feels right.
It feels right. Yeah. Which is nice.
Yeah.
It's nice. Yeah. So we've kind of like, we've dealt with, I suppose I could touch on the teenagers, because I feel like we've talked about childhood.
Yeah.
And then we've jumped past teens, early adult, to having the shop. Can we like?
We'll come back to that.
Shall we cover that bracket if
you're
comfortable?
Of course.
What was going on in your life? I didn't even know you then, but like, what was happening?
A lot of stuff. Like, it was really, I mean, a lot of stuff personally when I was a teenager going on. Like, kind of realised, I guess, a little bit that I was queer, but was very in denial about that.
Yeah.
And that was really difficult. Like, especially. Going, like, leaving high school was really rough for me. I had a lot of like, people who I thought were my friends who weren't, like, a lot of kind of battling with who I wanted to be and kind of really finding that difficult, you know. Looking back, you kind of cringe, don't you, at some of the things that you've like done or said, or you know, the kind of person that you are or were, or that kind of thing. Lots of trauma sprinkled in there too.
I think that's a canon experience, you know. So
100%.
many people have had that experience. So when you open up about it, there's so much shame with it. And then once you start telling people, like, I went through this, it's really bloody horrible, people go, me too. And yeah, oh my God, are we all just living the same life? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm feeling like I'm the only one.
Yeah.
So that was rough, but like it was kind of creativity that really saved me in those moments, actually. And yeah, like, kind of I'm so lucky to have the parents that I do, because even during those moments where I was like, no, like, I need to do this because like that's what I should do. You know, I did really well at school. Like, I was on track to be a vet and like go and do all of that thing. And I remember my mom being like, but does that make you happy though? Like, and we'd gone to like an open day for the sixth form, and we'd like looked around all the arty, you know, all the studios and the drama theatre and the photography stuff. And then we kind of went to like the history department and the English department and like the science labs. And I was like, oh, well, I should do that. And my mum was like, why? And I was like, well, because, you know, I've got the right grades and like my teachers say I should. And she said, okay, so I want you to imagine that like you come in and you have to walk past the art studio every day and you can't go in there because you're not studying in it. Like, how does that make you feel? And I was like, ugh, awful. Like, I'd be so jealous. And she was like, okay. So then on the other side, like, imagine you have to walk past the science labs and they're, you know, learning about chemistry, or you have to walk past like the history department and they're learning about whatever. Like, how would that make you feel if you couldn't go in there? And I was like, well, whatever. And she was like, so that says everything then. She was like, you have to do the thing, like, she was like, no one's telling you to do anything right now. Like, you have to do the thing that's going to make you really happy, and like figure it out after. Because I was like, what about the job? What am I going to do for work? And she was like, money will come. Like, if you're passionate about something, like, money will come. It's totally fine. So just do the thing that actually makes you really happy, which kind of is I guess how I carried myself through my business, of like, there's plenty of things that I could do that would make me a lot more money than we make right now, but it's not the thing that really makes my heart sing. So why would I do that? I wouldn't be happy. It wouldn't fulfill me. So yeah, I think that kind of sums up my whole thought process of like, it's so important for people to do the thing that really makes them feel like they have purpose in life, because otherwise, like, what are you doing? You know? And like, I went to college with like older people. I did my foundation year with people who were, you know, they'd lived a whole life, and they knew when they were 16 they wanted to do art, and they'd like lived this whole life not doing it, and they were like, now my kids have gone, and you know, I've bought my house and I've done that whole thing, and actually the dream is always to do art, and so I'm doing it. And I mean, like, I really respected them for being able to be like, I'm going to do it. But that just really, I was like, I don't want that life. I don't want to be the kind of, I don't want to get to 60 and think, should have just given it a go, you know? So again, like, now sometimes I'll say to my partner, like, especially when the bills are due, and I'm like, oh my God, why didn't I just go and study and be a vet? We'd make so much money. Like, you know, when I'm paying £250 for Daisy's like medication, I'm like, what am I doing? This is so stupid. But actually, like, I would just spend the whole time thinking this isn't my life purpose. So yeah, that's kind of like, a lot of those experiences really taught me that in different ways, of like, you have to do the thing that makes you feel like you have some kind of purpose, because otherwise what's the point, you know?
I feel like as well there's going to be so many people who, I feel like people have soul contracts, like, you know, I don't want to get too spiritual on my own podcast, but like, I feel like people have, you know, when you have inklings that like, this is what I'm meant to do. I think it's often because your soul has the contract before you like go into your body, you come to earth, where like that is what you were supposed to be doing, and you know, and you can deny it, you can listen to the world, let the world tell you what you should be, but you always know, you always come back to it. It's like, it'll always be the great love of your life.
100%. Yeah, I definitely think that when I think back to like even when I, you know, thought I was going to go and like study. I mean, I am now doing my degree, but when, you know, before I like started the business and whatever, and even when I have the moments in the business where I'm like, oh God, like, what am I even doing? And my mum will be like, what's the dream? Like, forget like the journey, like, what is the thing that since forever is what you want? And I'm like, I want to be an artist. Like, that's what I want. You know, when I was a little kid, I was like, oh, I'd be so cool. And I think that like, it's like the thing that your brain just can't let go of. It's like, if your brain can't let go of it, then there's a reason for that, and it's because that's what you meant to do. And so even if you went, oh, I'm going to choose to go and do the stable thing and just like totally bin this off, like, that isn't ever going to go away. So, it's never going to leave. You know, it's like when people are like, I want to be a rock star. I'm like, hell yeah, like, be a rock star then. Like, you know, I have friends who are like, you know, they're a teaching assistant right now, but they're trying to be an actor. And I'm like, yes, like, keep hold of that. Like, you know, and we've all got to do our stuff to survive. I'm not saying that, like, whatever, but it's like, don't ever lose that. Yes, definitely.
Lose 100%. Yeah, that's so wholesome. That's wholesome. But, like, I feel like this podcast is like going to be one of the most wholesome ones.
I love that.
You know what? Something like, I'm not even following a structure of past, present. I'm just doing.
That's okay. I'm here for it.
You know what I think is really lovely? So I went to one of your events, and what really struck me was how many different age groups there were, and how many different kinds of people there were. And it did, like, I don't want to insult any of the people who were there. I got on well with everyone there. And I include myself in this bracket. I did feel a little bit like everyone who was there was a slight misfit.
Yes.
You know, but we all sort of fitted together. And I do feel like you do provide a safe place for people who are misfits.
I love that. I'm so glad that you feel like that.
You know, I feel like you're very like we were talking about like sometimes we were talking about sometimes people might see you're very confident, you're very brash, and I think that's probably come from a place of like feeling not accepted when you were younger, and then coming into adulthood, figuring out who you are, and then being like, I never want to be made to feel that small again. And you sort of like built this really like hard like shell. But I feel like because you're so confident, so like I don't know, like you're because of your values, and you've also got this confidence and this sort of shield. I feel like you'll be a really good figure for younger generations who are trying to figure out who they are and what they want out of life, and also older people who are trying to discover like why they love being alive in the first place. Like
Oh.
I feel like I don't have you ever seen the is it DreamWorks? There's a film called Soul.
Oh my god, I love that film.
That's the vibe you give me, is Soul. You're the guy playing the piano. Like
Yeah.
that's how I feel like you are when you talk about art.
Oh, that's
Which
so
is why
sweet.
I
I
wanted you to
love
be on the
that.
podcast. You give me that energy.
That's so lovely. Yeah, and I'm really glad that you feel like that, because that is the thing that I always say is I'm like, we're kind of the space for the like I quite often will say to people like, and again it's like with love and that, because I am this person that like the people who feel like they were always the weirdo in the corner, we are just a room full of the weirdos in the corner. So it's like we're just a room for all of those people. And so yeah, I mean, people meet me and like there's some people who I'm like, oh, you don't get it. Like you don't get it, you don't get me, and that's okay. And like, you know,
it's
people,
not for you.
It's not for you. It isn't for you. Yeah, and everyone who kind of we kind of like Marmite in that way. Like either you come in and you're like, this is weird, I don't get it, I don't get your energy, like it's chaotic, it's a lot, like it's not whatever. And some people don't get it, but then the people who do get it are like, oh my god, the breath of fresh air, like this is, oh my god, it's my no.
Oh no, it's still on you.
It's okay, it's just something else fell off. But yeah, like the people who really get it do get it, and so I'm glad that you felt like that, because yeah, like I'm like, I love the weirdos. Like I always say like I love my little freaks. Like, and I am also a little freak. Like, and I love that, and I think that it's important to like have that space where you walk in and you don't feel like that, because like there's so many of us who felt like that in school. But also just how many rooms have you walked into and you're like, ugh, these people don't get me. Like they don't get my energy. You know, I'm too much, I'm too weird, I'm too niche, I'm too whatever. And I just wanted a space where people could come in and it was like, you can never be too much. Like you can never be too much for me. And whatever too much looks like, however that figures out, like there's no expectation. And so yeah, the thing that I'm always most proud of is when someone's like, oh, I just felt safe to be who I am. Like that is the whole point. And so yeah, some people don't like that, because it's like, we'll always be honest. We're always like, we were saying just before, like honesty is so important to me. And so yeah, like there's definitely situations where I think I probably come across strong or like a bit much or too brutal, and like, you know, but then you meet the people around me and all of those people are the exact same. Like the people who are closest to me, I'm like, if I'm a dick, I need you to tell me. Like I need those people in my life who can be
checks
like
and balances.
100%. And like, you know, I'm a drama queen, and like I'm a Pisces, I'm an emotional girl, and like the people around me sometimes have to be like, you need to stop crying now, like it's okay, you're actually fine. Or like, you know, when I'm like, oh my god, how are we going to pay the bills, my partner's like, please take a breath, like we have this every month, please calm down. But yeah, I think it's really important that if you felt like that your whole life, to walk into a group of people who are like, not even you have to be like me. I think that's also the interesting thing when you come to one of our events, is that you can't be like, oh, it's this kind of person that comes, because every person you talk to, you like, you're just your own little entity, like floating around in the world. But we just kind of gather those people. Like I meet someone and I think, you're a bit special. I'm like, come and join our little.
Foster them though, and make them like go into like, because I feel like art's so vulnerable, and you need to find places where you feel safe to grow and to find yourself and to evolve as an artist. You know, like I feel like when people's like light is stomped on, like it can be a really tragic thing, because it could have been something really great. You've got to like sort of like stoke the fire a little bit.
Definitely. And I like especially the research that I've done, kind of, you know, going abroad and like meeting crazy people who, you know, some people who I was like, oh my God, I've only ever like seen people like you in movies or read about you on the internet, and now you're like here in front of me. And like meeting so many different people, really my approach to like community building is to listen more than I talk, and to like, I really try and approach every conversation with like, okay, interesting, like I didn't know that about the world, or like I didn't know that about whatever it is, like,
Yeah.
you know, I didn't realize that people felt like that or lived like that, and like, oh, okay, that's really interesting. So it's really given me appreciation for like all kinds of people, which means that, yeah, like you walk in the door and like anyone could be here. Like, and sometimes I'm like, especially when we're kind of bringing everyone together for like a common cause, or, you know, just to like have like the meetup that you came to. And it is kind of like, I look around and I'm like, this is such a random group of people. But the thing that's so...
It works though.
Yeah,
weirdly.
I think because the thing that really brings everyone down to it is that it's like, I am who I am and you are who you are, and we can respect that our differences and our similarities don't really matter. Like, we still respect each other for being our own person. And that, I think, is really special and really needed at the minute, where it's kind of, you know, you feel like everyone's in their own little group. I like to kind of be like, let's ignore all that and just, you know, be joyful together.
Yeah, definitely. People like everyone to be in their little boxes and the world to be black and white.
Yes. Yeah, and I like totally, I like love the people who are like, fuck the boxes. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. Like, you know, I don't want to put anyone in that, and like, I don't want to be put in that. So I appreciate people who are just like, you be you and I'll be me, and like, maybe that'll change day to day, and that's totally cool. Like, those are the people that I love the most. But yeah, it means that it's the little weirdos, and I'm here for it.
Right, the next thing I want to chat about is so we've talked about growing up, we've talked about childhood, we've talked about the origins of the shop, which was like a big one. We've dealt with that. I've dealt with like the world of community building, art, and that sort of thing. I think the next thing is like projects. I think that's quite interesting. Like, for instance, like, well, I feel like we should end with Canada, which was the most recent one.
Yeah.
But can you talk me through like all these sort of like different projects you've been involved with?
Yeah.
Take me on like this sort of like timeline, because you've done a lot of different things.
Yeah, a lot of crazy things. I guess like, obviously we set the studio up, and that kind of ran quite like standard, I guess, as standard as it could be for like selling my work. You know, I was doing a lot of work for other people, painting things and that kind of stuff. Selling other people's work, that was a whole thing. Like, working with artists is crazy. I love it, but also it's a lot. And then, yeah, kind of like had in my personal life a lot of stuff going on, and had a bit of a like, what am I even doing with my life? Like, I'm not, back to that thing of like, my dream was to be an artist. I'm not an artist right now. Like, you know, people used to be like, oh, this is Izzy and she owns a shop. And I was like, oh, it started to give me the ick. I was like, oh, I hate that's Izzy owns a shop. I was like, like, that isn't really what I started it for. Like, I started to be an artist. So like, my mom again was like, so go be an artist then. Like, what can you do? So I was like, okay, the shop is not a shop anymore, it's a studio. Like, and we make art, and that's what we do. And then, yeah, my personal life, a lot of stuff was going on, and I went to France, which is a whole other story, why I went to France, but I did. Saw these guys on TikTok, these 4 artists who bought this, like, I guess like a commune. It's like a hotel, there's a chapel, there's a garden, it's like a whole thing. And they were basically asking people from around the world, like, come and help us make this happen. And we can't pay you, but what we can do is you can stay here for free, and we feed you 3 times a day. Like, and it's in the middle of France. It's cool venue, whatever, cool people. Like, come and do it. And I'd like seen it. I was like, oh, it's cool. Like, would love to go. And then they said that they needed someone to design their garden. And I was like, I can do that. Like, great. So we went to France, and like, I guess really that's kind of where I saw like community in creativity, that was like something that I'd never seen before. The way that people lived and worked together, and like, you know, the way that things got done over there, where it was so, you know, like casual, but then like things just got done so fast. And like, it was such an amazing experience. Like the guys were awesome, and all the people I met were so great. And it was just like a revelation of like, this is what we need. Like the town needs something where people can feel like they're part of something that really matters and can be really creative and be themselves. And so I came back and like started to put those things into play and like have a look at it and like look at community building. And so we started to do like creative workshops and like work with young people. We started like teaching young people about like growing their own food, and like this whole kind of thing started to really like take hold, I guess. And then we're kind of like here where we are now, where we do loads of different community events. I guess like the most recent one that we're working on at the minute is with House of Wings, the Blackpool Style Assembly, which, you know, kind of like, happened sort of out of nowhere. Like, love Sam and Ash, shout out, babes. Love those guys. And we were like, we can just come and like help. Like whatever it needs, kind of, we couldn't help the past few times. So I was like, I really want to be involved in whatever capacity. Like, I don't really care, whatever you need, like, let's do it. And then we were like, oh, we'll do some set. Like, I'll make some set a la Planet. We'll make some set, like, and it's fine. And then, like 2 weeks before, it was like, all of this stuff needs happening. And I kind of have done loads of creative events, like, you know, our creative event management, we have experience of doing that. So we ended up like making the set, putting the set up, like doing tech run-throughs, like helping choreograph the shows, helping choreograph the artists. And then it was like, okay, now we need a co-host. And then I ended up just hosting the event and walking in Ava's show, and like it was awesome, and we just loved it. We were like, this is just so cool. So we're working with them at the minute. We want to do like 4 a year. We want to get young people involved. Like, basically, I mean, those guys have experience with like Fashion Week, and we were like, this is better than Fashion Week. Like, we're gonna make it for like Northern Fashion Week. So we feel we're all really like inspired, and it's a great team. It's such a fun team. Like Sam and Ash from House of Wings, awesome guys, like so fashionable and like, again, like so community orientated. Like I love that. I've like always loved working with them. I think that they're great. Like the work that they've done for Blackpool for like literally years and years and years is so admirable. And like they're just creative forces. They're so fun. They're so fun to work with. And then Ava and So from her brand, like also absolute babes. Love them.
They give such good energy as well.
Oh, they're great.
They're really lovely people. Really
love
warm,
them. All 4 of them. Me and Finn, my partner, like we just loved them. We loved working with them. It was chaotic, but so good. And like I kind of laughed. I was like, there's like 5 femmes and a butch, as in Finn. Like Finn was like the man being like, right. And we were like, we need this to happen. And he was just like, so what am I putting up? Like, you know, like where does the ladder need to go? Like, just tell me. But it was great. And so that's something that I'm like really, really excited to work with them. On kind of those upcoming projects. And then I've like done loads of hosting stuff recently, which I've just like loved. It's something that now I'm like, oh, I've like sparked a new little like passion for it. Worked with Creatives for Culture on their event down in London, which was great. Like I hosted their event, which was for like filmmakers.
That's
so we
really
watched
cool.
like independent filmmakers, and then I interviewed them, and then interviewed Yasmin Vargas, who is like the director's assistant on like Bridgerton and The Crown.
Oh, that's really cool.
She's amazing. She was so lovely. Like, loved speaking with her about like being a creative and that kind of stuff. So a lot of my projects at the minute are kind of, I guess, focused on like talking to people and like talking to people about being creative and like just making it happen. Like at the minute, my thing is like, give me a vision and I'll make it happen. Whatever that looks like, whether it's an installation of something or an event or, you know, like a workshop or whatever. And like people are finally starting to be like, oh, this is the thing you're really good at, is like bringing that kind of like creative joy of like, we can do this, with as much or as little resource as we've got, like we can just have a vision and we can make that happen. So yeah, those are the projects I'm really excited about at the minute. So if anyone's got any, hit me up. Yeah, it's really good. I'm feeling really excited about it. I'm feeling energized about it, which is nice. It's nice to feel like that.
Yeah. Can you talk about Amsterdam?
Yeah,
Canada?
excited.
I don't know if we've brought it up, but
I don't think so. Yeah, so I guess like I'll give a bit of context because anyone who doesn't know about it. So yeah, in 2024 I was awarded the really prestigious Churchill Fellowship. Again, shout out to them. I'm just gonna have to send you all these people that I'm like, shout out.
And it's mad, like, if you hadn't taken the leap,
yes,
like years ago,
yeah,
if you hadn't just gone, fuck it, I don't care, I really want to just go for this and just put a lease on a shop when you were like really young and just jumped into it, none of this would have happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, like, I spoke at International Women's Day a few years ago, and yeah, one of the questions, it was kind of like, you know, like, what's your best advice? And I was like, be so delusional. And like, I know that everyone says that at the minute. It's a bit of a trend, but it's like, I can't advocate for it enough. Honestly, it's crazy. Like, every single thing that I've got where people have said, that's so cool. Like, how have you done that? I'm like, I just did it. I just believed that I could do it. Like, even when the odds, I mean, it makes me laugh when people are like, what's your business plan? I'm like, whatever comes up, whatever you want to pay us for.
Delulu
like,
is the Salulu. Yes. And like, I feel like as well, like, you got to do it. Like, you can get these barriers in your head, be like, what if it's crap? And you're like, it will be crap.
Yeah.
You'll become good though.
Yes.
You'll become good.
100%.
It will be crap when you start.
Of course.
You'll be rubbish.
Yeah.
It'll be awful. And then you'll become good.
Yes. And like, actually, the more things that I've done, I'm like, do you know how many people are so bad at what they do and yet their whole career is still great?
Yes.
It's crazy.
It's like, you know, and a lot of people like, I can't do it. It's like, there are people who are way more successful than you, who aren't as skilled as you, just because they had the audacity.
Bury that. Like, I can give you a list of names. Yeah, and that is totally it. And so the fellowship was one of those things. Like, I'd heard about it from other people, like, and it isn't a creative thing. Like, if you look at the website, it isn't for creatives. That's not the vibe of it.
Yeah.
It's Winston Churchill's legacy that he left behind. So the money he left behind to like better the UK, that's where the money comes from. That's what the fund is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the director of it is Jeremy Soames, who's a direct descendant, like, you know, so it's very much his family who they fund like 100 to 150 fellows every year, experts in their community to go abroad to research a problem their community has. Is the idea of it. So you get people, you know, trying to figure out how to end homelessness or how to cure cancer or, you know, about children in poverty. So like all of these things are so important. And it just sounded really cool. And I was like, this just sounds really cool. And I like sat on it for a while because I was like, what can I do? Like, what is it that I feel like is really important to me that is like a problem that needs solving? And yeah, through like the LGBT advocacy stuff, I was like, the problem that we have in the UK, but generally speaking for the queer community, is that we don't have spaces to connect with each other that aren't centered around alcohol. And kind of like through like personal circumstance, my mum stopped drinking, her life like changed completely for the better. And then her brother died, my uncle died, of a heroin overdose, and it was just like a light bulb moment. I was like, this is crazy. Like, and so I started to think about like my own sobriety, and like that was really important to me because I was like, I come from a family of addicts. Like every single person in my family either is or has been an addict, and I was like, this is my future if I don't deal with this. And then I thought, well, I started looking into like queer spaces, and I was like, all of them are a nightclub. All of them are. And like the history of queer spaces is nightclubs and bars. That's, you know, the oldest spaces in the world other than people's homes are bars. And, you know, they serve a purpose, and they have always served a purpose, but it meant that queer people are at a minimum 3 times more likely to have a substance abuse problem. And because I was working with kids at the time and queer kids, and I was like, there isn't anywhere people can go to like make those connections and make those friendships where they're not expected to drink or do substances. And so we're like losing so many community members through addiction. And after losing someone so close to me, and like, friends that even now like struggle with their own addiction, I was like, that the UK's problem actually for everyone is that like, where are our third spaces away from that? So even third spaces, like, what's a third space? Is a pub. Like, that's where people will maybe go.
Yeah.
Because like no one's hanging out the library. Like, as much as we'd love, as much as it would be great, people aren't doing that. And so it was like, those spaces that people come together, that isn't their house, that isn't their job, is somewhere where they drink, generally speaking. And so it's no surprise that we have such a problem with alcohol in the UK. And so I didn't think that I'd get it, because I was like, they've never done a project like this before. My project was about queer, sober, creative spaces. And I was like, I want to go to Amsterdam because of the history there, and also like the community there is doing great things for sober people. And then I want to go to Toronto because I want to go to Canada, because I just actually looked up like sober things in Canada, and it just so happened that Toronto had the most. They have like 100,000 queer people in Toronto. It's like the biggest queer community in Canada. Canada as a country has the best policies in the world for queer people. And you can apply for up to 8 weeks of travel. And because I didn't think I would get it, I was like, well, you got to apply for the most, right? Like, because if they're going to say no, they may as well say no to everything. And if they're going to say yes, then may as well ask for the most that they'll kind of give. And it was a really long process, like crazy amounts of questions and forms and all sorts of stuff, few different stages. And then, I had an interview, got to the interview stage, and it was an interview in London. It was only 15 minutes. And they said, you've got 5 minutes to talk and then 10 minutes of questions. And like one of my judges has been, the director of like the Victoria and Albert Museum. And like one of the other judges was Winston Churchill's great granddaughter. And so it was like people who were really massive, really. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And I like wrote this whole speech about it, kind of just summing up my project. And then it was like not even a week before, and I was like, it just doesn't feel right. Like, I'm like quoting all these statistics and like, this is why it's so important. And I really wrote it for them. And I said to my mom, it just doesn't feel right. Like, I'm not feeling impassioned about it. And she was like, you need to write about why it's important to you. Like, that's the thing that's going to get them. So I did this speech to them that was basically like, I am a northern queer working class kid from Blackpool. Like, this in itself is crazy to be sat in front of you in my like hot pink suit. Like, this is wild. And I was like, but I'll maybe never get the chance to sit in front of you again and like tell you why it's so important that, I was like, queer kids in Blackpool have nothing. And actually queer kids everywhere, especially working class ones, have nothing. And so, as an artist, as a queer person, as a northern person, working class person, like, this is what's really important. And so it should be important to you. And actually, like, I'm gonna make those spaces whether you help me or not. So like, you may as well help, because you're gonna regret it when you see me do it and you've not helped. And it was a really cheeky speech. I was like, either they're going to love it or they're going to hate it. Like, either they're going to get behind it or they're going to be like, who does this bitch think she is? So did the interview, and like by the end of it, I'd like, everyone had smiled, even the great granddaughter of Winston Churchill. Like, eventually she was the last one to crack, but she gave me a little smile at the end and was like, get home safe to Blackpool. And I was like, okay, thanks. Like, and the staff were like,
audacity paid off.
And the audacity paid off. I got the email like, you're doing it. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. And so yeah, like, so I spent a month in Amsterdam, I spent a month in Canada. It was amazing. I learned so many things from so many amazing people, but that is like so far my biggest, like, I have the audacity. Because,
Yes.
you know, if I'd have let my anxiety take over that whole situation, like, I wouldn't have just been who I am. And I think that one of my judges told me when I met them afterwards, they said, like, you know, we don't usually do this, but like, I have to tell you that the minute that you left, we said, not only should you be a fellow, but you should like be prime minister. And she was like, because the passion, like, we just couldn't ignore that. Like, we couldn't ignore the fact that you care so much.
Yeah.
And so most people that I meet, that's the thing that they say is like, oh, you actually care.
You really
Like,
care.
you really,
Yeah.
really care. And I
Yeah.
do
It's
really care.
authentic.
Yeah,
And
100%.
I feel like that is so valuable in a world where, like, so many people are inauthentic, because you're almost like, we're taught to chase after societal approval, like, you know, like
Yeah.
claps, likes, shares, that sort of thing. And, you know, sometimes it's hard to tell when people talk about stuff, is it's like, do you actually believe what you're saying, or are you doing it because you think it'll make you popular?
Yes. Yeah, and I think, like, I kind of say, especially when it comes to like social media, like, it's always when I'm just like, fuck it, like, ugh, and I like get ranting, that then it's like, that's actually the thing that people kind of pay
They're
attention to me,
starving for it.
because people want to hear it. And
Yeah, yeah.
and you know, like, I mean, I've had a thing recently of like a weird American being like, I'm gonna out you for your views, and I put a thing on Facebook of like, you can't out someone for something that they spend their life saying publicly. Like, that's not. I know you think you've done something here, but like, because that's the thing, is that, and my mum, bless her, you know, I like go home and rant to her about all of these things, and she's like, as your mom, like, I just worry. But she always kind of sends me, you know, messages after of like, you really stand up for the thing that you believe in.
Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, I mean, there's people know where I stand on things.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
you know, sometimes that maybe feels a bit harsh, but I think, like, if I really back something, then it's because I really believe in it. And so if I really care about something, like, I'm a Pisces, I can't not care.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Autistic.
yeah, like, I just can't do it. I can't, you know, pretend to care about something that I do care about, that I don't care about, and I can't pretend to not care about something that I do. And so I think, yeah, when someone has me on their team, they know that it's like, I'm here for it. Yeah. If I say that I'm here for it, like, I am here for it.
Yeah.
And yeah, people want that, because, like you say, you see so many people that jump on something the minute that
Are you
it's
doing
gonna.
it to social climb, or do you actually believe in this?
Yeah.
Are you actually passionate about it? Is it genuine? Is it real?
Yeah, definitely. And like I say, there's plenty of things where I think maybe if I didn't say that, or, you know, wasn't that kind of person, like, we could have worked with that person, we could have made money in this way. But, you know, there's people that I turn down working with because I'm like, no, you don't fit our values, and that's the thing that's really important to me.
You don't want to be a sellout.
No.
People, and I feel like as soon as people do worry about that and they compromise on who they are, you can just end up losing everything. You know what I mean?
And you can't trust those people. I mean, it happened when I like co-organized the trans rights protest, and like, you know, we had a lot of people kind of being like, oh, you've put yourself under fire. Like, I did, you know, and some of the comments on Facebook were wild, and we all kind of sat in our house after and laughed about some of them. But a few of our members, and especially, you know, queer people who've lived through the 80s, and they like, and I love them so much, they like give me so much advice, and we really are strategic with the things that we do. And a couple of them were like, you know, if you do this, if you keep pushing this, like, you're gonna come under fire. And I was like, but how can I say to my community that I'm here for them, and then, you know what, the minute a few people like say horrible things about me on Facebook, it's like, oh, actually, I'm dipping out the fight. I was like, it's just not who I am, guys. I was like, I say that I care about trans people because I do, and so when my trans community needs me, like, well, here I am. So what are we going to do about it? And it's the same for anything, like the stuff we do with Reclaim, you know, like I care about that. So yeah, there's probably a bunch of people who see the stuff that I do and think, oh my God, like she's banging on about it. But it's like, because I really care about it.
Yeah.
Probably too much sometimes. When
I think it's really, really lovely though, because I feel like something that is often thrown at more like the left, more left-wing movements is I don't want this podcast to become political. This is a reoccurring problem.
You're here with me. It's gonna happen.
But yeah, I vowed to myself I'm not gonna be political. It's just gonna be about the art and the music. Oh,
but those things aren't separate though. I think honestly that actually is such a good point. It's gonna though.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, but I feel like something that can be a big thing for like left-wing movements is like a lot of the values are, great, and you can get so worried that people who jump into your communities or into your groups, or if you've got a political movement, people who jump in are doing it because they want to, for instance, like virtue signal or to climb the ladder or to be perceived in a certain way. It's not that they genuinely care about it. And like I find it really interesting how you were talking about like, when you talk about it, it's like something clicked to my brain when you're talking about how like, a lot of the queer community doesn't have third spaces where there isn't drink. And then you look at, for instance, like I hope this isn't an uncomfortable thing to bring up, but the domestic abuse statistics amongst queer couples is quite troubling and a really weird thing to digest and to try and understand, because I know a lot of queer people are really peaceful and really like, yeah, what? How does this make any sense? But now you've said that, if the only place you can hang out is where there's very high rates of substance abuse and whatnot, it's very obvious why that would be.
Yeah, and I do think there's a level in queer community also, like, especially when you're from somewhere like here where the community is small. I mean, like, I think I struggle to come across a queer person in the town who I haven't met, and when I do, I'm like, oh, someone new, love this, like, hi girl. And I think, there is a level of queer people, I felt it in, in some of my relationships where you like, this is my community, like I have to hold on to them. And I talk about it with my chosen family and us as queer people, that like you try extra hard when it's someone who's queer, like of course you do, because you're trying to find like kinship and community. And so yeah, I think that sometimes there is also that level of like, and I've found that in the research that I did when talking to people, of like, oh, sometimes I don't want to call that person out because that person is my community.
Yeah.
Like I spoke to an organisation in Amsterdam, and they focus on like men's mental health, but men's sexual harassment and sexual assault, but especially queer men.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, what are the like, kind of the barriers that you think that queer men face that are maybe different? And the thing that he said, he's called Thomas and also really great. And he said the thing that I find is that people don't want to talk about it because they don't want people to like then think badly of the queer community. So, people sometimes have this thing where, they don't want to talk badly about a bad relationship, or they don't want to talk badly about a bad experience that's happened, or you don't want to kind of talk shit about a space, because it's like, well, if this is the only space that we have,
let's not put holes inside the ship that is the only ship in the
because
sea.
It's all we've got. And so like people put up with it. And actually, like when I went to Canada, in Toronto, where they have plenty of spaces, they were actually a lot more likely to like call out the bullshit, because it was like,
interesting.
Yeah, really interesting, because the experience that I've had in the UK and even in Amsterdam, which you would think like there's an abundance, and there is more compared to the UK, but there isn't, it's not abundant, is like, we're going to work hard to make this space happen, and we're going to work hard to keep what we've got, and like, yep, there's some issues with it, but like we'll get to it, because what's important right now is just making it happen. Whereas because in Toronto there's so much, they can be like, actually no, like actually these things are a problem. And so yeah, I do think that it's reflected sometimes in like domestic abuse situations, because yeah, people kind of feel like, oh, feel like the first hot queer person I've come across in this town for 2 years, like I'm probably less likely to call out maybe when I'm feeling like this is not right,
Yeah, because
because
there's no other options.
because you know,
Yeah.
I remember one of my relationships where things were not right and everyone around me was like, this isn't right. And I remember being like, but what if I don't find anyone else? You know, this person lives in walking distance, and like, you know, this person is in my circles, and you know, kind of is in the community, and so like, and is the first person who I felt this connection with. So like, what if it doesn't happen again? And so yeah, I think there is something to be said for that, which is why it's important to like open people up and kind of say like, here's the community, and it does happen here.
I think it weirdly protects the community as well, because like a lot of what I've heard people, if I've heard people speak badly about, you know, queer relationships, they will bring up these statistics and they'll say quite cruel things about queer people and then come up with their own theories. But if you like acknowledge these issues and you go, right, I'm not gonna like put this under the carpet. This is brush this under the carpet. Sorry, I'm not going to brush this under the carpet. Yes, this is an issue, and here is why it is an issue. You're able to like control the narrative instead of like, if you ignore something, you're like, don't look over there. It allows people who you don't want to control the narrative, like, well, that's because of that. You know?
Yeah, and I think that kind of comes across in like lots of different things in the queer community, even like intersectionality and like you know, talking about like transphobia in the queer community, which is like a massive thing. And there's a lot of the conversations that I've had with people where it's like, oh, you don't want to bring it up, especially around people not in the community, because, you know, like you say, you don't want to like fuel that fire. There's enough, it's burning enough. Like you don't want to kind of encourage that. But that is something that we do a lot here of like I say, honesty is really important to me. And so we talk a lot in the community, like, is this working? Is this not working? Is this bringing the right kind of people? Like, you know, and even if that might be like, oh, we're kind of being taken over by like white men, and like, even if they are gay, like, okay, that's something that, you know, a queer person of color might feel uncomfortable with that. Or, you know, even when it comes to like disability rights in the queer community, and you know, I mean, try and find a queer space that's completely accessible. It's going to be hard. Like, it's one of those things that also doesn't get thought about, because again, it's like, you know, just be happy with what you've got. Like, be happy with the space that you have. And so there's a lot of not wanting to call that out. And I think it's important actually as a community to be like, you know, we can question those things. And it doesn't mean that we're like, you know, terrible. I mean, every community has its knobheads. I say this often, you know, when someone's like, oh, and I met, you know, someone who was queer and they were a bit of a dick. I'm like, because they're a person.
Yeah.
You
they're
know,
human.
they're human, and you know, you're going to get people who are,
just because you have struggles doesn't make you a good person.
Yeah, and there's still misogyny, and there's still transphobia, and there's still racism and ableism and all of those things in the queer community. And I think, I just feel like it's my responsibility as like a community leader and as a researcher to like not shy from those things. So a lot of the people that I interviewed, I made it a real effort to make sure that it was people from every aspect of the community. You know, even like I went to events in Canada that were, you know, sort of like focused on like the Muslim community that are queer, and you know, I went to disability pride, and I went to all of these different things, abolitionist pride, like just to really see that queerness is just another descriptor of people. And so all of the issues you have in society, you have all of them in queer people.
My heart really goes out to them as well. Like, it must be extra hard.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the other thing, is like that, you know, I have real privilege, and so it's about using that privilege.
It's mad. It's like, I've got a kind of crappy end of the stick, but it could always be worse.
It could always be worse. At the end of the day, like, I'm a white woman in Western society with a family that supports me, that loves me, that, you know, if it all went to shit, I could go and live back at home. And like, that is a massive privilege. And so, that's why it's so important to me to like give voice to those people who don't have that, and also to like use it to the advantage of the community as much as possible. So I'm like, you know what, like, if you're going to talk shit about someone, sure, choose me, like, you know, and like, you can say that I look like I'm, you know, I'm never going to be a woman, mate, and like, you know, all of these weird things that people
I'm
say.
sorry, I'm a biological woman.
Yeah, like, you know,
like,
commenting like,
what?
meat and 2 veg, and I'm like, sure, like, if it makes you feel better, whatever, because I would rather someone come for me than like come for the community members who
also it really messes with the heads, because a lot of them, like I've got trans friends, you know, I know a lot of drag queens, but she personally, my uncle's one. But like a big thing that really upsets me on their behalf is like how in their head they can get about whether they're passing or not. And it's funny because like I'm very like I'm biologically female, I'm very female presenting. I don't even question it. And to like constantly be in your head like, oh, do I look feminine enough? And then like comments like that would just absolutely knock you. And it's funny, like people are trying to like attack you for something that you not even.
Yeah, and that's like that's why we laughed about it, because it was. I mean, it's hilarious in some ways, but that was like kind of the thinking behind it. Is I was like, whoever becomes the face of it, and it's not to say that I was the face of the trans rights protest. I don't mean it like that. But it was like someone has to be the one who's like sharing the Facebook post and like is going to take the heat, because someone and someone, we knew that someone was going to get the heat for it. And so I was like, I don't want it to be any of the people who the protest is for. Like, I don't want to see it happen to my community members. I don't want to see it happen to the trans people who came, you know, or any of the supporters of it. Like, I don't want that. And so I was like, fuck it, like, put my face in front of it, you know, and people can see. And some of the stuff was crazy, like some of it was wild. I had one person, you know, like saying that everyone should boycott this political business, which is hilarious when it's like, have a look at the stuff that we do, and like, you know, if someone magically didn't realize our political leanings, then like, what are you reading? Because all of our Facebook shows it. But that was the privilege that I could offer, was like, you know, and it is that thing of like, people are worried about passing, and then a biological woman can still get those comments. So like, honestly, don't worry about it, babes. Like, it's honestly fine.
You know, something that makes me really sad though is how the world has become so political. Because like, a lot of these values that you know have for the shop, they don't even feel political to me. It's just having empathy for other people. It just feels like it's the natural. Like, it just, if you put yourself in other people's shoes for just a moment, trying to think about how they'd feel about, I don't know, it just, you know. And sometimes it feels like we live in this world where like, if you're understanding of other people and you're like, God, that's awful what you're going through, I feel so bad for you, how can we make that better? Automatically it's like, that's so political. It's like, it's not, it's just being
like, my mum told me to care about other people, and I listened. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't know what to tell you. Like, and that you're so right, and that is the thing that it always comes down to for me, is literally like, that is what happened, is that my mom was like, hey, you know, people look different to you, people have different circumstances, things happen to people, and like, it's important to treat people how you would want to be treated. And so that's what we do. And then it's like, communist, and it's like, okay, I mean, I just think people should like be able to feed their kids, and like, should be able to walk around the street and not be hate crimed. And I think that of all people, I think that everyone deserves to feel safe and happy and have purpose in life. And so like, I don't understand how like caring about your fellow person has become political. Like, when did that happen?
It's a shame. If only there's a way to like sort of take it away, because I feel like a lot of like, I don't know, sometimes I feel like right wingers and left wingers would actually agree with each other and be able to sort out more things to actually remove the label.
And it's, do you know what I mean? So funny you say that, because it's a conversation I've had a few times, literally in the past few days, of like, I really believe, you know, that most people actually agree with each other.
Yes, I agree.
I actually do think, because we all want to make sure our kids are fed. We want to make sure that they feel safe. We want to live in an environment where people don't have to turn to crime. We want to make sure that everyone, you know, has a job, has a house, that the NHS is well funded, that, you know, people can be who they are, they can live the life that they want to live and be left alone and respected. Like, everyone actually agrees that that's the way that it should be. It's just that people have positioned it to say, oh, and the reason that isn't the case is because of them. And I just think, like, instead of shouting at each other, if actually people sat down like this and said, what are the things that you're really scared about? Oh, I'm you know, I'm worried about not being able to feed my kids. Oh, me too. Like, I actually think we all
Write down
agree.
your values.
It, like you say, if you took politics out of it, like, don't call it politics, don't call it left, right, don't call it whatever. Like, what is important to you in life? I think we all feel the same.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think it's really, and that's what we do try and do here, and I think that's why it's successful, is like, we do have hard conversations with people, and our thing always is like, tell me what you're worried about. Like, tell me the thing that you don't understand, that confuses you, that upsets you, that you're worried about, and like, let me tell you why we aren't your enemy in that, and why actually we agree. And so I think if people had more of those conversations, then it would be better. It's just that, you know, it's been riled up. Like, the bear has been very much poked by people who benefit of us all not looking to them and looking at each other instead, without getting too political. Tax the billionaires.
Yeah. I feel like that is the.
I feel like that's it. That's like, where do you go from there? And of course, it came to that.
Right. Well, one last question.
Yeah.
What are the future plans for Popbound, for your journey? Are there any? Or are you just going to go with the flow?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I ask it myself every day. I mean, the next plans are like putting my research into practice. So that's kind of been happening. But actually, like, officially putting it out there, like the things I've learned, to kind of help other people.
I think that society really, really, really needs the lessons you've learned, especially about third spaces.
Yeah, 100%.
Massively.
Yeah, and that is actually where my, like, goal is. That's a long-term goal of mine, is to like open more spaces and like help more spaces, and kind of, I'm like picking up all of these things of how to be more inclusive. Like, you know, we're doing some training at the minute with a few of our staff. We've just signed up for it, like, to help people with low vision. Like, how can we make our stuff more accessible for them? And yeah, we're just, at the minute, I'm kind of in this era of looking at, like, how do we make it so that we have all of this information to really keep things really inclusive, and then teach that to everybody else, and like, hopefully in the process, kind of bring people together and like sort of teach people how to have those hard conversations, to like advocate for themselves and like their environments. I mean, I love Blackpool. It's, you know, it's why I can never leave. Like, even when I like go to these amazing places and I'm like, oh, I'd love to live there, and I'm like, but there's work to be done here. And I think that, like, that's what I would love to see for Blackpool, is like, you know, to really embrace art and like embrace that part of our culture, and just like, the UK in general. Like, artists make the world go round. They really do. And like, there's a reason why artists are the ones who attacked first, and art is like so crazy powerful. And I think that, like, the capitalist society that we're in has taught people that like singing and dancing and poetry and stories and painting and like sharing your experience and your thoughts in that way is something that you have to be good at. And like, our message always is like, it is the most primal thing about us, is to do that. It's the thing that, like, across generations, decades, when we've been different species, different cultures, everywhere across the world, the thing that you can always trace back to humans is like, we're always going to sit around a fire and tell each other a story, and we're always going to dance, and we're always going to make music, and like
paint a bit of pottery,
and paint walls, and like, you know, stamp our hand and say, I was here. Like, that is what makes us human, is those things. And so that's why we use creativity to like spread that message, is because yeah, I just think like that's what's really important, and we have to come back to that of like, you know, the human race is so gorgeous and beautiful because we've done that. Like
Yeah.
we are nothing without sharing our life experience with each other, and so doing that in a creative way, I think is something that like we can't lose that, and that's
Yeah.
why the arts is critically underfunded. It's why kids don't learn about it in
Yeah.
school anymore.
Yeah.
It's why, like, you know, they kind of make
And
artists
it's
into these villains because
yeah.
actually they know
They know.
they know that art is the most powerful thing that we have.
And that's not something that AI
Can replicate.
yeah.
Yeah, true.
It doesn't have a soul.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
I find it quite, you know, something that's really interesting. I know I said I'd end the podcast here, but this is something I've been thinking about and I just want to talk about it
Do
first.
it.
You know, something really weird is that when AI first came out, I was like, I can't tell the difference between AI and reality. I can't tell the difference. Now I can.
Yeah.
I can really tell the difference between AI and reality.
Mm.
Like, you know, like if I see an AI generated video or an AI generated picture, I'm like, that's AI.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so weird.
The shiny,
How
glossy.
the hell has my brain like suddenly gone, oh, that's how?
Yeah.
Which I just find quite interesting.
It is interesting, and I think like you said, like it doesn't have a soul.
Yeah,
And that's
I
the
don't
thing
think
about
it does.
yeah, and that's the thing like that's so gorgeous about human art is that
Yeah.
like it's not perfect. Like
Yeah.
it isn't and I think for my career like I've never strived to be perfect at anything,
Yeah.
which is why it's not. Like the studio is not perfect, my career is not perfect, our work is not perfect because like how boring is that?
Yeah. And you
How
don't want
boring
that.
is perfect? Like
Yeah, yeah.
I don't strive to be perfect in anything, and I don't expect anyone around me to be perfect in anything. And I think it's like, I mean, not that everyone's a massive Oasis fan, but I am. And it's like that, you know, they in one of their songs, and it's like true perfection has to be imperfect.
Yeah.
And it's so true. Like you think about the people that you love, like you kind of love the things that make them like annoying. You know, like the things that make you go,
Yeah.
oh god, you're so annoying. Like actually, if they stopped doing those things, you'd be like,
Yeah, but you're not you, and now you're weird and like plastic and strange, and
yeah,
oh, I don't like it.
yeah, and that's why like
I'm getting
you
uncanny
know,
valley.
yes, literally, and that's why you know things like, and you know, it's not like shitting on anyone who has filler or anything like that, but there's levels to these things, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like it gets to a point where like perfection is boring. Like I love meeting people where I'm like, and this is why I love like people who are a little weird because I'm like I love, and it's the people who are like, oh sorry, you know, like sometimes I say the wrong and I'm like, I love that. Say the wrong thing, please, like because I think like you say, we're all crying out for like
authenticity.
Yeah, for people to be real. Like I want to hear someone like say something and then be like, let me say that again. I kind of fucked that up a little. Or like, oh, I didn't mean that actually. I say that all the time. I'll say something and be like, I don't know why I said that. I don't mean that. Like, why have I said that? Like, let me say it again. Like, and I think that that's something that's really important.
I think the problem is as well is that the internet's structured in such a way where if you are authentic, you can be punished for it.
Yeah.
If you make mistakes, if you're trying to come up with your opinion on something, you're trying to figure your way out along the way, you can get hung, drawn, and quartered for saying the wrong thing.
Oh my god! And anyone who's seen my TikTok will know that I am like the victim of that so often. Of like, well, I just think that you should have worded it like da da da, and you're like, okay, well, sorry, like, sorry, I wasn't perfect, and that's why it doesn't. I'm like, whatever, you know, like it's not. I'm like, well, I'm a person. I don't know what to do.
Not caring is a superpower.
Yeah, you know, like, and yeah, I think AI is. That's why people are now starting to be like, ugh. It's gross because it's just, you know, I mean, I love like people who like, you know, make sweary posts and are just like, fuck it. Like, yes, give me that. Like,
I just want realness.
Literally. So actually what we'll end it on is fuck AI.
Fuck AI.
And that's actually the perfect
ending. Can I just
ending.
point out the irony in this? This is AI generated.
No! We need to recreate it.
I know, I do. Well, it's half AI generated. So, like, the lady is, like, I did see a few dioramas, and then, like, so a little bit of it's a stock photo, and then it's, like, extended, and then it's made into a circle, and this has been typed round. But
Okay, so
yeah.
it's not like totally. You're not
But like
you've
it's
not
half,
just like tricked it
it's
in.
half AI.
We can
And we've
recreate
just been
it.
bitching about AI, and you know what? Like, oh my god, I'm a phony.
I love that. See, but I love that though. I love that you can be real about it. Be like, I know but I love that. Hell yeah. Because if I said I've never used AI, I'd be a liar. Like, of course,
Yeah, half of that's a stock photo. In fact, I imagine if you actually got that photo and you searched up, you could find the stock
it.
photo. And you're like, hang on a minute, half of this is AI. Like she selected bits and gone, now put it onto there.
I love that. So funny.
Oh yeah. Hey ho. And I'm looking forward to getting sued if this ever takes off.
Call out for your bullshit. I love it.
Okay, so you are now a member of the Eccentric
Oh my god, this is the most exciting thing. I'm so excited. Thank you so much. Well, thank you for having me because
no problem.
yeah, as soon as you like posted that you were doing it, I was like, I want to be on that.
Oh,
I want to be an eccentric lady. So thank you for having me and coming. It's been so great.
Oh, I mean, I'm going to keep this
For now.
But if the podcast, if I do actually start going somewhere with it and I get famous, that's changing stat. It's going. I'm doing a photo shoot. I'm getting a new one. I'll dress up as a Victorian lady.
Yeah, if anyone wants to make something, hit us up.
Yeah, call out to artists.
I love it.
But right now, you know, you and 5 other people are listening to this episode, so
stunning.
I don't think it matters too much.
Amazing.
But anyway, thank you very much, and thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate
thank you.
It.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.